In this edition of Campaign 2018 Local Matters, we turn to New York. New York's primaries for the U.S. House and Senate are just a week away. Joining me now to discuss the races to watch is Laura Nahmias. Laura is a reporter for Politico, New York. Laura, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with a race in New York City that is getting a lot of attention. Local organizer Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is taking on Congressman Joe Crowley in the 14th district. Now, Crowley is considered by many to be next in line to take over the House leadership from Nancy Pelosi. So what strategies here are is each candidate employing to try and get the edge in this race?
Well, Alexandria is sort of coming from the Bernie Sanders playbook. She is arguing that it's time for an infusion of fresh blood in the U.S. House of Representatives. She's arguing that Joe Crowley doesn't look like the district that he represents, which has become much less white, less Irish over the past 30, 40 years, and that she is actually a better representative of the district. More than that, she's arguing that it's time for Joe Crowley to get a real challenge. This is the first time that he's had a primary challenge in 14 years, and he's only had 4 of them over the past 3 decades. Crowley is appealing to his experience. He's been in Congress a long time. He is a powerful, powerful person, and he is saying to voters, stick with me, you know what I stand for.
Next, let's turn to a Trump stronghold in New York, and that is, of course, Staten Island. The 11th Congressional District, current Congressman Dan Donovan is up against the district's former Representative Michael Grimm. First, explain to us why Grimm is no longer in office, and then tell us how President Trump is factoring into all this.
Right. Well, Michael Grimm left the House in 2015 after pleading guilty to tax fraud charges that were related to his hiring undocumented immigrants when he ran a health food restaurant on the Upper East Side. He said that the prosecution, which was led by former U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch when she was the head prosecutor in the Eastern District in New York, was politically motivated. And he is appealing to Trump fans in the district who see the current investigations into President Trump as also being politically motivated. Not only that, Michael Grimm has a tremendous amount of support in the district from when he was in Congress. He was in the House representing Staten Island when Hurricane Sandy hit, and voters there who I've spoken to say that they really felt that he was there for them. He was very present, very much helpful in the recovery effort there.
Such an emotional time. I covered Sandy when it came ashore and went to Staten Island, that really areas there were just devastated. Right. Let's turn to the 19th district. Out of the city, this is an area being heavily targeted by Democrats as a potential flip here. There are 7 Democrats running for the right to unseat Congressman John Faso. So who are the favorites here, and how are they differentiating themselves?
Well, I think they're having a difficult time differentiating themselves. There are a couple of people who have come to the forefront. One of them is a very young former aide to Governor Cuomo named Gareth Rhodes, who I knew when he worked in the governor's office as a very young, very inexperienced person. He went to law school and he's come out ready to run for Congress. But he won the New York Times endorsement this week, which matters a lot in a liberal primary, particularly in the Hudson Valley. There's not really any polling in the district, which makes it more difficult to predict how voters are going to respond. And in such a big primary race, it's really just a matter of hundreds of votes with that big of a field. Yeah. Anything could affect it. The weather, one good mailer. We'll just have to wait and see.
I want to ask you also about the race for governor, because the primary won't take place until September. Right. But looking at it now, do you think that Cynthia Nixon, the former Sex and the City actress, has a real shot to unseat the incumbent here, Governor Cuomo?
Again, in a primary, particularly one where the turnout might be low, and this primary is set to take place on a Thursday, which is unusual, it comes out to voter turnout. She doesn't have anywhere near as much money as he does, but she certainly has high name recognition, although she's trailing him by double digits in the polls. If she starts running TV ads, maybe that'll make up some of the ground. He's already launched his first TV ad, though, but she released a campaign finance filing this week that showed that she's only raised a little more than $1 million, and Cuomo has 30 times that. So it's a tough path for her, but she's sticking with it.
All right. Well, before we let you go, I want to ask you about Governor Cuomo's plan to recommend the legalization of recreational marijuana in New York. Now, he'd previously been opposed to legalized marijuana, so how could this affect his re-election race?
Well, he's trying to position himself in such a way that there aren't any issues on which he could be attacked from his left. That's what he's really concerned about. This became a real issue in this race after Cynthia Nixon brought it up. She called for the legalization of marijuana as a criminal justice issue, and that's become a really hot topic for progressive Democrats across the country. So Cuomo's reaction to that has been to move to the same position that she has. That way it gets rid of the criticism. She doesn't have that to bludgeon him with anymore. Just one less thing that he can be criticized about.
Right. A lot to watch in New York. Laura Nahmias, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.